Candyman, a podcast where we don't talk about the movie series Candyman, which has conflicting facts about the number of bees that Tony Todd was stung by. However, I have found out that he did make $1,000 every time he was stung by a bee, but we're not going to talk about that here. We're going to be talking about Sweet Tooth. I know. Sweet Tooth on Netflix. One of the best shows on TV right now.
I know.
I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are going to be talking about Sweet Tooth Season 2, Episode 2, Into the Deep Woods. And as always, at the end of the episode, we're going to be talking about and reviewing a candy. However, this is a special one. We're going to have a candy showdown at the end of the episode. We're going to be doing... We're going to be doing...
Candy showdown.
Two thematically for the show, I think, appropriate candies. Nerds versus Warheads. And we're going to be trying them, and we're going to be talking about them. So that should be pretty exciting.
More like
candies that are close
am I right,
to them.
Justin? Come on, man.
Yeah, we all have our own issues that we'll get to at the end of the podcast with this specific thing. And we'll see if any of them make it in contention for the 2023 Syrup Cup. But in the meantime, if you haven't checked out Sweet Tooth Season 2, Episode 2, please do, because we're going to get into spoilers.
Do.
In fact, quick little recap on this. All of the animal children are still locked down in the zoo. Abbott is away. Abbott, right? Why am I blanking?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hey, Abbott.
He wasn't in this episode, so I got confused. But while the Abbott is away, everybody else will play. Specifically, we catch up with Jepperd and Aimee, who are trying to break the kids out. They go through a couple of schemes there that don't quite work, though ultimately the kids do get a little bit of hope and then lose that hope and then get that hope back again thanks to a drawing of the cabin in Yellowstone that Gus draws for them. And meanwhile, Singh is working very hard to find out the origins of the Big Sick, bringing back the purple flowers to induce a hallucinatory vision.
Sometimes you got to trip balls for science, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
hey,
what
listen, I need you to trip your face off for science to save the world. All right, Doc. Okay, I'll do it.
Doctor, Pete keeps tripping balls, but he keeps saying nothing. He keeps saying nonsense. He keeps talking about early Punisher comics. I don't think he's the one we need.
But we do find out some more about that, or more specifically, Singh does, which he's very excited about. And on the flip side of things, Ronnie is finally confronted with exactly what has been injected in her, which is pieces of real kids, and she's pretty upset about it. So there you go.
A lot of highs and lows.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on in this episode. What'd you guys think about this one? I think we were all pretty positive on the premiere. How are you feeling 2 episodes in?
I like it. I think there's a lot of different stories happening, different threads. But I like how it's some of them are sort of big ball, some of them are small ball. We're getting a lot of the low stakes fight of trying to get the neck, the house arrest bracelet off of
Bobby willing to
Bobby's
sacrifice
neck.
himself.
That was low stakes.
Bobby's like, yo, go on without me, bro.
That was the highest stakes part of the episode for me when Earl Elephant was trying to take the neck thing off of Bobby. Bobby got flung across the room. Yeah. Bobby made this huge sacrifice that Pete just talked about, where he's like, "Go ahead without Bobby."
Oh my God!
It was
absolutely
beautiful.
Just so anyone listening at home, Alex has a life-size Bobby puppet that he brings up every time he does the voice. I don't know where he got it. Yeah, puppet. I don't know. Maybe he knows about the actual Bobby, the real Bobby.
God, I wish my life would be 1,000 times better.
But I don't say, I'm not trying to diminish Bobby's power in the story, but I do think that the idea of cutting from that little sort of cute scene and then Jepperd and Mom running from a drone and scary side of it, I like that mixed tones that we're seeing in this episode.
Yeah, we do bounce back a lot, back and forth, which is nice. It's got a nice pace to this episode for sure. Yeah, I'm feeling good about the way things are progressing. There's a little hope. It's taken away. You get a little bit more hope. It's crushed.
It's like everyday life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I want out of my TV shows. That it feels like I'm going to my job every day.
Yeah. You
it's like you
wake
sign
up in the morning and they got a trough, a feeding trough, and you kind of scoop some kibble, and then you start your day. You know what I mean?
I love corporate kibble. Honestly, it's very good. You find the darndest stuffed animals in there.
Yeah, that's what 401k stands for. 401 pieces of kibble that you eat.
Yeah, and that's don't eat them all. You want to save some of them.
You gotta
save
save some.
400
That's the key. You can't have all the skibble now. You gotta save some.
I gotta say, and I still obviously love this show. This is definitely, well, hold on. I was thinking about it in terms of a candy metaphor where the show is very sweet, right? And the first episode focused on the kids, and it makes me feel like my teeth are ringing with too much candy because it's so sweet and it's so precious to watch them go through all these things, even when they're in danger. Going this episode to all the stuff with the big man and Amy in particular, where they're going through basically this action movie, like you were saying, with the drone, and guys try to discover their identity, and he looks like he's a Bond henchman who's like, come on, you're coming with me, and they end up in a big fight. All of that stuff that was going with them, that felt to me like my vegetables, and I was like, I don't want my vegetables. I want more candy. Bring me the candy.
Oh,
and
my
every
God.
time we got
I was
back
enjoying the vegetables, dude. Come on. You got to have a well-balanced meal. Come on.
Oh, okay. Mr. Candy himself giving me lessons over here.
Well, I think some man's vegetables are another man's chocolate-covered sugar broccoli.
Yeah, that's
because
what I'm talking about.
Pete liked that fight, and
You
that's
take
what
your
I'm saying.
broccoli, you go to the chocolate fountain, you dip it in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your wedding is going to be weird. But the way that they mix those tones, it is really working for me. And then you get into the more emotional stuff where you have like Singh and his wife dealing with their rising and falling guilt at all times. I think is really nice.
I did.
Yes. Just to clarify, still really like it. This was just an impression that I had while I was watching it. Maybe I just needed to watch the kids a little more today. That's all.
I'm glad that we had this episode because for me, Singh has been this kind of like thing where it's like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? But I feel like they really did a great job of him in this episode being like, I'm a prisoner too, really kind of clarifying the reason that he is like sometimes super helpful, sometimes a huge dick, you know, and I feel like this really kind of did a great job of kind of walking that line for that character.
Well, we talked about this a little bit the last episode, but I do think the ideas here are doubled down that there's nobody purely evil in this world. Even Abbott.
I don't know.
I mean, even
there's
Abbott
a guy
has
with
his own
a
things
kind of
going
Stalin, picture of him hanging up, and there are all these troops.
I mean, that's
marching
not great. I'm not going to say it's great.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say Abbott we could probably lean into being more evil.
Yeah, definitely.
Evil and
Well,
dumb.
here's what I'd say is he's the villain of the piece, right? But he's not necessarily evil. Some of his motivations are understandable, particularly at the end of the world, particularly like he explained the last episode, where we have 2% of the population, I think, 1%, something like that survived, and everybody might die because infections are increasing now. So he's desperate. And I think that's the thing that comes through always in everything that Singh does is he is desperate. His desperation, does it come out through his main motivation, which is to save Ronnie and keep her safe? Yes, though I think like we're getting at, there's something a little more altruistic that is building up there in terms of his bond and Gus, where he's finding, oh, there's a way out. There's a way that I can actually do the right thing.
You know
and
what?
I think everyone's trying to escape. And I think you see in this, there's that great scene between Singh and Ronnie where he is like, he can't even enjoy being with her when she's feeling better because he's so ridden with guilt. And the only time he really feels alive is when he's at the end talking into his tape recorder about what are the odds that Gus would drop into his lap. So like everyone is trapped by in a different manner. And that's a cool, aren't we all? Like we're in these three little Zoom window boxes trapped on our own.
Yeah, I don't have anything below my nips, you know?
What?
Yeah. And please follow Alex on Mastodon at Below My Nips.
Below my nips.
It's a bad account. I don't update it enough. I'm really sorry, everybody.
Yeah, we're dying for content.
Absolutely. Now let's jump into the vision for a moment, where Gus and Singh end up in a cutscene from What Dreams May Come. I thought that was pretty cool.
No, you're talking about when he was tripping balls, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, when he's tripping balls. When he trips balls for science. Check out the bumper stickers and T-shirts available on our Threadless shop. Anyway, this whole vision, though, I'm also maybe something that like took me a little bit out of this episode as well is I'm not the hugest fan of mysticism and prophecy and all these things, and this definitely skirted along the end of it a little bit. But I thought a lot of the sequences were very lovely in terms of how they were filmed. The thing with the tiny cabin being set
Oh
there,
my
I thought was
God.
very
And then the
cool.
lift off the roof. Yeah, it was so cool.
It was cool.
I thought, I hear what you're saying, Alex. Like sometimes when we kind of go down this whole thing of like, look back in your life and somebody's kind of messed up and you're trying to get answers from them. But I thought it was done really well in this thing of like, he doesn't know what the answer is. So, to kind of unlock that for him, that you can go back farther than than you think, was kind of really powerful and interesting. And then also the fact that we kind of made these connections that were alluded to in a way that kind of like crystallized things moving forward. I thought it was, a little bit weird and fun, some of the psychedelic stuff, but then it just snapped things into place moving forward in such a good way, especially for Singh, hopefully not killing people and getting the information he needs to kind of make some progress so we don't have to worry so much about all the, kids in the kennel.
It's like that time you were tripping balls, Pete, and we kept saying, go back further, and then you spent the rest of the night wiggling around the floor like a sperm. Like a
and
tiny
then
little sperm.
I went too far. Yeah,
You went too far.
On that note, and I do think you're right, Pete, they provide this pseudoscience explanation for what's going on with the blue flowers. It's not specifically mystical or anything like that, because he really is just able to access, able to access his earliest memories. And we start to build out a little bit of mythology about where he came from. We get to see, I wrote it down, I don't know if I'll be able to find it immediately, but we find out a bunch of information for Singh about where this plague came from and what's
Fort
going on.
Smith, Project
Fort Smith,
Midnight Sun.
There you go. So these are clearly things that they're going to track down over the course of the season. So that's good. Yeah.
But I do take your point about mysticism, because the part where I think it crossed over is when the skull was coming for Gus, and Singh dove and sort of got him out of it as if he was in danger from the deer skull man. So like, it is hedging that line, and I think the comic series hedged that line a little bit too. But I think what they're getting at is more like the mysticism of like collective belief and hope. And like, hey, even though this show is rooted in science, that seems to be the spirituality they're grasping. So even though I agree with you, it was a little much, I think I'm still with it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're right about it. Sorry, go ahead, Pete.
I was just going to say, I really liked the choice of like, there was kind of like this running, but all of a sudden we just kind of cut to this kind of like him grabbing him and falling on the floor moment where they were both kind of running to each other. And I thought it was such a fun artistic choice of both of them kind of being out of breath and kind of finally coming together and getting the stuff that they needed. So it was a little jarring, a little weird, and you got to always be aware of blue flowers. I mean,
Scary.
Right now there's a lot of stuff blossoming, and it's a beautiful time. But also the pollen count is, you gotta be careful.
It's like that time that you were tripping balls, and that giant podcast microphone was chasing you.
Oh my God! Yeah, don't even bring that back. I mean,
you made us pour nougat in your mouth to revive you.
I mean, being from Rochester, where the lilac festivals are, Justin, it gets weird. It gets weird upstate. You know what I mean?
I'm from a little east and north of there mostly, and lilac's huge. Love a lilac.
Yeah. Oh,
pollen doesn't affect me. I'm not allergic to it.
Okay, you don't have to flex on everybody all the time. You know what I mean?
Just you.
Don't wear glasses. You know what I mean? You don't have defects. But guess what? We didn't drink well water, so we have our teeth. You know what I mean? So what's up, bro?
We've got very far afield. All I wanted to say to wrap up, I think you guys are both right here. At its heart, this story is being told as not realistic, but it's a fairy tale, right? Like that's the framing of it. Even if it's a sci-fi fairy tale, it's a fairy tale. And so you can have those moments. I think those are allowed, like Singh diving and catching him or the skull monster. It just depends, like we're talking about, on how it hits you at any time. One thing that is realistic that we didn't talk about with the first episode, because I don't think it really came up in the same way we talked a lot about with the first season, is particularly in that flashback at the beginning where we see Jepperd trying to find his family desperately. Ultimately, he sees his coach is leading a rally of first men who are chanting humanity first, and that's how he ends up joining these first men. This is something that the show...
Last men or first men?
Last men. Sorry, I wrote down humanity first and last men. There we go.
Yeah,
there you go.
I was like, are there first men and last men? Because that's about to get complicated.
Anyway, my point being that what the show does really, really well is it skirts along and makes you feel things about current events and the way the world is now without explicitly being that way. And that was something that I was very curious to see how they explored this season, particularly the first season, was like they wrote and crafted and put everything together right at the beginning of the pandemic and didn't change anything. Now getting into the second season, all of that stuff, it's not in the rearview mirror, it's current. So how does that affect the writing? How are they going to integrate it? I thought they did very well, particularly in this first scene. I was very affected by it. What about you?
I agree. I think the way that they handled the kind of like, kind of the way he walked into that whole kind of like everybody chanting and it's kind of like shell shock a little bit, I thought was such a cool way to kind of deal with the fact of normally you walk into a room and a bunch of dudes chanting, you're like, whoa. But because of everything that's happening, I thought that they dealt with that really well. And then he was kind of like beelines and was like, hey, coach, it all just kind of settled in such a nice way that I thought was very effective. Sorry, Justin.
Would you follow your coach? Who's a coach that you would follow into?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely coaches that I'm ride or die with for sure. But,
Coach
like
Lasso?
Lasso definitely up there.
I guess I was more talking about real world. Actually,
I think we should explore this.
Coach,
If Coach Ted Lasso was leading a humanity first movement, is that the sort of thing you'd sign up for, Pete?
I don't know about that, but I tell you, I did. My coach.
Well, I'll tell you what. Don't like those hybrids.
Wow, this guy could do Bobby and Ted Lasso. Put him on Saturday Night Live.
Whoa, is Jason Sudeikis here right now?
Unbelievable.
I do also have a Jason Sudeikis puppet. But...
Yeah, no one
can't
doubts
just
your puppet
say
collection.
something like that and then not deliver.
Pete, what were you talking about? You had a coach.
I had a volleyball coach who was in
volleyball.
Yeah, who was very much kind of like anti the system and stuff, and had a lot of interesting philosophies.
Anti the volleyball system? Like
no,
big volleyball, professional volleyball's keeping us down.
Yeah, big volleyball is always out there trying to take people down. No. The other way.
He was
around.
Really into setting, and everyone
First
wanted
off,
to spike.
How dare you? It was a she. Don't assume, motherfucker.
Sorry,
you know what I mean?
sorry.
Like Jesus. You
Sorry,
know what I mean? Come on.
That is wrong of me.
She really shook things up, and then eventually got fired for it because she was really anti the system. And
what system are you talking about?
I'm talking about she was really into like breaking norms. You know what I mean? Like,
what are you talking? Did you?
I'll give you an example.
I gotta say, with everything you're saying here, you should lead a last man rally because you're saying just as much right now.
Okay, so I'm walking down the hall, right? Little nerd, huge glasses, a lot thicker than this because technology hasn't caught up, and all these people are lined up in the hallway. Most of them football players, right? And there's the coach. And she points to me and says, "Get him." And the biggest football player you've ever seen, his name was Ox, picked me up and hugged me. From my point of view, it was like a hallway, and then everything went black because Ox stepped in front of me and picked me up. I thought my life was over. Picked me up and hugged me, and she talked about breaking the stereotype of jock versus nerd. I thought I was going to get like thrown into a locker like I've done 7 times out of 10. But this time, because Coach was there, I got the opposite reaction. Yeah. It was kind of crazy.
She got fired for that?
She got fired for what she did with there was this big dance coming up, and her thing was like anybody could ask anybody. And it was like somebody, and so that's what she kind of got fired for. But it was
she dated several students.
No, it was just total chaos of like what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like anybody could, like it was
Wow.
just kind of like, yeah, it was crazy.
She was saying that women can go to the dance together and men can go to the dance together, right? And she
Yeah,
got fired
that
because
and like there was
you
this
had a
thing of like,
repressive
Oh,
school
really?
about LGBT.
in high school there's there's this cool kids and nerds and all these subcultures, and she was just like, fuck all that. Who do you want to ask? Ask them, And
Oh
kind
no,
of was
I
like,
didn't. I didn't think that's where you were going with that. Well, that feels like a whole nother Netflix series. Potentially.
Well, I'm glad we talked about that. That's all the
Yeah,
time
it
we
seems
have to
way
talk about
ridiculous.
Sweet Tooth.
But let me say, what you were talking about earlier, Alex, where we're getting into all of these things that feel resonant in our current culture. Like, I think they're doing a great job of sort of tonally hitting them. And it's a lot of different tones at the same time. There's like militia tone. There's what the kids are going through. Like, I feel like they're doing a good job of putting them together and they're not conflicting with each other. Again, the way they find balance in the show is really smart, and it's a high wire act.
I also want to just say, like, just to get to roll with the big man again was very exciting, because it was like
Yes.
something that I didn't know we would get to get. We were kind of stuck in the zoo a little bit here, and it was nice to kind of get more outside stuff as well as just what's happening in the zoo.
Are you dying?
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional, man. You know what I mean?
Man,
Like, what
Big
if
Man's back. Big
yeah,
Man's
what
back,
if
baby.
Big Man, saves the day? This is very exciting. I love his determination. Also, the curly-haired girl getting the coat from the Big Man. I mean, this is all.
Well,
I
let's
love
talk
the
about that. We had an
connections
exciting crossover in this episode where Becky, aka Bear, ends up in an
Yeah.
episode of Station 11.
I was going to make that exact same reference. I was like, wow, crazy crossover that she dropped in with the Station 11 crew.
It was weird. They didn't do any. If you haven't seen Station 11, it's
Great show.
very nicely complimentary, I think, to the
It is.
show in terms of also being about like it's a post-apocalyptic show that doesn't weigh you down with the virus in exactly the same way. Like there's more of it. There's definitely more of it, but it's about the power of art and healing and you like it. But they definitely the main thrust of the show is this traveling band of Shakespearean actors who are going around the post-apocalypse, and the cart that Bear ends up in looks very
U-Haul.
much like what they're traveling in.
Like truly identical. And those two shows could exist in the same world pretty seamlessly.
I mean, when Justin talks about how he traveled the world and did like street performance art, this is what I think of.
Yeah, that's basically it. I was right at home there.
So there's two feelings that I have about the storyline. One, I think it's really good to let her grow, and I'm excited to see what happens with these characters. I think ultimately her being with kids who are not these crazed, pretending to be animal kids who subsist on candy and video games, and that's pretty much it. She's going to find and sorry,
You mean Pete? Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's
Pete.
triggering. That's triggering
don't
for Pete.
insult our audience or anybody out there. Candy
our
and video
audience.
games,
Okay.
great.
All I'm saying is that's how she was for most of the apocalypse. Then she immediately hooked up with Jepp and Gus and has been through all these harrowing adventures. She was with Judy for a little while. So for her to be with a hot dude with like some jack guns her own age, I think is ultimately going to be very good for her.
Huge step forward.
You got
for
to. I
us.
mean, it's got to be a red flag when you see a guy with a shirt, sleeveless shirt. You know what I mean? I mean, that's
If you have
gotta
guns
be.
like that, don't wear
Well,
sleeves, baby.
and we don't know the apocalypse.
Don't sleeve the guns.
Don't sleeve the guns. While we know the apocalypse makes your pinkies wiggle, it may
Stop.
scare the sleeves off your T-shirt as well.
Yeah. Are you going to start doing that, by the way? The way that dude greets her by saying pinkies?
Yeah,
He's
Let
going
me
to
see your
ask everybody
pinkies.
from now on.
pinkies.
Mine are a little wiggly, but it's unrelated to whatever's going on.
But I thought it was such an interesting thing where we had the zookeeper, she's kind of going through and she's shaking so much because she's scared. And the guy's like,
Yeah.
yo, let me see your hands. She can't stop shaking. I thought that was a cool
Red
kind
flag.
of- yeah.
Well, what do you think? We didn't really talk about Amy much. What did you think about her journey in this episode?
I like her riding with Jepp. I think they're a good team. I like her as like a nervous but pretty capable assassin when she breaks in with Jepperd.
The old
And
pan
that-
to the head, dude.
I like that. It was a good tense thing. They got out the tunnel, but then sort of burned it as a way of getting in and out. So, sort of a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, it was this interesting idea of like, I have a plan, but someone got too emotional for the plan, and as somebody who gets too emotional, I very much related to that.
Well, but it's two characters who have been on their own, right? In different ways. Amy has been leading all these animal kids, and she's had to be the adult in charge. Jepperd, other than Gus, has not trusted anybody. He lost everybody. So if this
Very
is
emotional for Gus.
Yeah, well, if it is ultimately about these people finding hope and finding trust in each other, that's an exciting pairing to have together. And clearly, the point of this episode is for both of them to get to a place where they very tentatively trust each other and trust the decisions the other one is making. So, in terms of plot arc, I think they did a good job there.
But from a traffic point of view, for them to both agree to wait for the buffalo, that's a great bonding moment.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, man, there's nothing like waiting for buffalo. You know what I mean? You really have time to connect.
Can I mention one of my favorite characters on the show right now, at least in this season?
Glasses
Bobby.
guy.
Bobby's number one. Yes, Johnny. Yeah. Johnny Glasses Mullet guy. Love him.
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
I like his whole thing, beans on toast. He was so excited when he was doing all that stuff.
He was like, well plated.
Yeah. It's the way the actor is playing it and the way they're writing it as well. It almost feels like he legitimately could be the most evil person on the show, potentially, but he's so about like 20 to 30% from not being inept and delivers everything. So like we're talking about, very excited. It just comes off as very fun.
I agree, and right out of the comic book, as we talked about it last season. So I won't say what happens with this character in the comic, but it's exciting to see him, such a picture-perfect translation.
It's almost like somebody took Pinky and the Brain and mushed them together in this one guy. And it's like, sometimes he's an evil genius, sometimes he's doofy and adorable. Like, which one are you going to get?
And that's been a lifelong dream of yours.
Yeah, exactly. To see it come to life here is pretty magical.
I'll blow your mind real quick. This is very much a sidetrack thing, but look up who Pinky and the Brain were based on, because there are two real Warner Brothers animators. And when you see their pictures, it's literally like Pinky and the Brain, but real people come to life. It's amazing.
Wow. You're like, oh, sad, good for cartoons, bad for reality.
Bad for people. What else jumped out at you about the episode? I'll mention one of my favorite lines. Jepp saying, "Dog is a promise, you bet your ass I'm going to keep it."
Yeah,
great
100%. That was great. I had highlighted that, and beans on toast, which we just covered. And I really like the Singh's wife, Ronnie, the way that she played everything. She sort of emerged as a character here, and I really like her needing to be saved by grinding up these hybrids, but also really getting hit with the guilt here.
I'm very curious what's going to happen with her, because it almost feels like every other character in terms of their arc is much clearer right now. We know what their goal is. We know what they want. Ronnie is at this decision point, and we're going to see presumably where she gets to in the next couple of episodes, but it's very much an unknown. Like, what is her place in the story? What is her mission? What is her goal in terms of this overall journey to deal with the sick, get to a safe haven, whatever they are heading towards? Mainly, I'm curious. I don't think they're doing a bad job of it. We just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about what it is. I feel it's going to be darker. But a couple things I wanted to point out. I love the Sweet Tooth title card that came up during the smoke effect. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. Also, I really liked the I lost something, and Gus being like real quick with your marbles. You're out of your mind. It was a fun moment.
Zinger.
Two other quick things, and then we can move on to Pete's favorite section of the podcast. One was, I missed. Oh, did you guys think during the vision, I thought there was a chance we were going to get to see Pubba back. I thought Will Forte was maybe going to come back.
Me too, and I will say, I thought that was a sweet part of the vision where it was just like a nice moment of him remembering that. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they did it. I'm bummed that they did it, but it would have been nice to see him again.
I had a nice moment in the vision where he said "whoa" as I said "whoa" at the same time. I thought the visuals really lined up there.
And nice. The other thing that I wanted to ask you, they're going to be trying to head back to Yellowstone. Do you think they mean the show? Are we going to get a crossover?
It's so
100%.
popular. Yeah.
So popular. They got to do it. I mean, I know
Kevin
it's different
Costner.
studios.
I mean, come on.
Come on.
Kevin Costner, that's the reason he's quitting, is because he just fell in love with the hybrids.
Yeah. He's like, I love a real elephant. Wow,
He's
3
like,
for
I
3
can't kill
this
Bobby.
episode. 3
Yeah.
for 3 with those impressions.
Versatile. And I can't believe how much we scripted and worked on those beforehand.
Yeah, I've been practicing them in the mirror for weeks. This, by the way, I hope you guys are okay with it. This is my SNL audition tape.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
no, it's fine. Crushed it.
Happy
They
to be
like
a part
a
of it.
lot of those tapes have other random people in them hanging out.
Yeah. Lord Michaels is
Silently.
going to listen to this podcast and be like, when are they going to get to the candy review? That's the part I want to hear.
He loves candy.
So
He's
let's
very
do
old.
it now. We are going to be talking about, as we said, two candies, Nerds versus Warheads. Now, we talked about this. There was quite a heated text exchange that happened before we taped this, where Pete, not to call you out here, but you refused to get Warheads, even though we had agreed we were going to do Nerds and Warheads. You're just going ahead and eating the Nerds. Did you get Warheads as well?
No, and he was protesting nuclear proliferation when it comes to his candy choices. I pitched getting Peace Heads, but he just wouldn't go for that either. So Pete has refused.
All right. Well, also, I don't like, and the reason you refused for real is because you don't like Warheads, right, Pete?
Too sour.
Warheads are disgusting, and I'm not going to ever put them
man.
on my mouth.
Oh, okay.
again.
Well, I don't like either of these candies, so instead, I brought a big thing of tortellini, which I do like. I hope that's okay.
Oh!
Some cheese tortellini. That's what I'm gonna taste now.
That makes
instead of
sense for
Nerds or
sweet
Warheads.
tooth.
Yeah, it's not good.
Tortellini,
Oh,
man.
it makes as much sense as not eating the candy that we're talking about, Pete.
Well, here's the thing. We have
what's
a
up?
exchange where we say, hey, what candy we want to talk about? Normally we pick one. And you were like, hey, Pete, here's the list. Pick one. And then I did. And then you guys said, fuck you, Pete. I don't care what you
We
said.
did not.
I'm going to do what I want to do. So the reason I asked you was just bait anyway. So fuck you. We're going to do Warheads. And I was like, I really don't want to do Warheads. You're like, well, you can't always get what you want. So fuck you.
I sang it really beautifully. I just want to mention. All right,
yeah.
why
It was,
don't
it was like
moving
well,
on
let
to
me
the
also say.
argument? Yeah.
Let me also say, I wanted a Warhead. I was tracking down a Warhead and Nerds, and I couldn't find really either. I have big chewy Nerds, which is some bastardization of the original.
Those are good. I gotta say. I mean,
I'm excited.
You
Wait
might
for you
hate
to
them,
try
but
those.
I think
This
they're
bag of them was like $20, so I'm very excited to eat them. And then I couldn't find Warheads, but I found Sour Power Sorts.
awesome. Oh, that's very different.
That's not
I
even
know.
close.
I almost
But
feel like we need to table Warheads. I actually did get Warheads, so I could just eat some Warheads, I guess, for you guys.
Where do you get them?
That's like saying to your
At
wife,
the-
hey, I'm going to go buy a car. And then you come back with a bike.
At the CVS. I went to the CVS. That's all. They just had.
You're
Like,
getting
a
a
bag of-
DeWalt drill
God, you're
to
drilling
open
it?
Nerds? What kind of...
Here's okay. So you have already been eating Nerds. So why don't you talk about Nerds and why you like them, Pete?
Okay.
Because this
the
is actually
burst
one of my
of
least favorite.
sugar and sweetness that you get with Nerds is glorious. It's a nice kind of like a jolt. Also, they're crunchy and weird, which I can relate to, which I think someone who's been called a nerd for most of their life, I think it's a good identifying thing. Yeah, they're unique and weird and flavorful. I love them. They're full of sugar and horrible for you and your teeth, but they are glorious in many ways.
I'll mention, by the way, I got a basic Nerds Rainbow. Ooh, same box that Pete has. Very large box. I'm used to like the classic two flavors of Nerds, one on each side.
Yeah.
I love that as a kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was the best.
But I'll tell you what, as an adult, I like them a lot less, and for very stupid adult reasons, which is they're very messy. They get everywhere. Whenever my kids get them, they're like, ooh, we're eating Nerds. Most of the Nerds are all over the floor, and then who's got to take care of that? Daddy.
Daddy. I know, not a great pourable box in the Nerds box. On the big chewy Nerds front, these are better, I think, because they have multiple textures. But candy like this, where it's just a pure sugar hit, yeah, I'm not. It's not my.
I
type.
love it.
This is too hard. I just ate way too many of these.
It's like eating rocks.
Yeah. It's like sweet rocks that then turn into sand as you eat them. I don't like them. No.
Yeah,
You're delicious, you assholes.
No, but I will say those, what are they called? Gummy...
Big chewy nerds.
Big chewy nerds. Big chewy nerds, they also make nerd rope,
Nudes?
which is like that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which they're good. They're much less messy because you just get that crunch on the outside of the soft on the inside. That's good stuff.
Is it like a gummy bear but nerds? Is that what it is?
It's like a gummy bear, it's like a liquefied nerd wrapped in a Sour Patch Kid.
What, dude? Put it up to camera. I want to see one of these things, man. Whoa, not what I was expecting.
Great texture.
That's different than like the nerd clusters is what I was thinking of, which are basically like gummy things with nerds on the outside.
Do you think the nerds people are just panicked where they're like, we need a new thing? What's our next thing?
Yeah, you know what we should make? Warheads. Or maybe tortellini.
Yeah, nerd tortellini, yum. Nerd steaks, where it's just one giant rock.
Not my favorite. I'm going to say. No. Not my favorite.
Pass on.
Definitely one of my favorites of all time.
Interesting. Wait, I have a question for you. I know we didn't do it on the show, but you were talking about Fun Dip because you and I were talking about Fun Dip the other day.
Yeah.
And so what do you prefer? Because Fun Dip is basically ground up nerds. Which is higher up in your mind?
I'm going to say Fun Dip. But a close second. Do you remember those like
Fun Dip cut out the middleman?
It was like Fun Dip is like candy heroin. It's just directly
do you remember the
injecting
sugar in the shape of fruit, where it was like it's a plastic bunch of grapes, but then you twist it open and it's all powdered sugar?
No, that sounds like something they gave you to lure you into school.
Well, yeah, that was also really great.
All right. Ooh. Well, maybe we'll save Warheads for another time, or maybe we won't at all because
I'll find them. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I know
I have them. I will say, for the record, just in case we do title this episode "Nerds versus Warheads," I like Warheads. I think
me too.
Good.
Why? When I was a kid, Warheads was
they're not
candy.
Delicious. They don't taste good at any point. What are you talking about?
It's like a dare.
Yeah, exactly. It's so sour it makes your mouth pucker up.
Why
the
is
only
that
problem with
enjoyable?
them is once you get past that sour layer, then all you've got is like hard candy, which
the candy, which is why you're there. What?
No, the reason is the experience. It's the experience.
We have different candy journeys, which is the fact that we can come together is truly beautiful.
Absolutely. And this show is beautiful, and all of you are beautiful for listening to it. If you'd like to support us, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Crowdcast and YouTube and Facebook. Please come out. We would love to chat with you about Sweet Tooth, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Comic Book Live on Twitter, Comic Book Club Live on TikTok and Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, the Candymen can.
Time to trip balls, right, Pete?
Nerds.